Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Aligned Living podcast. My name is Kathleen, and I'm your host. And today is I feel like I say this for every episode, but today to me is like a really super special episode. We're at episode 17 with Lize Bührmann, and a new friend, newish friend. We met each other, I think, last year, 20. When was that? 2022. And feels like I've known you forever. So
Yeah.
it's such a blessing to be able to do this with you. Lisa and I were actually supposed to start recording about 45 minutes ago, but we went down a whole bunch of tunnels, and now we were like, okay, cool, no, it's time for this conversation. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here. It's honestly such a privilege for you to share your time and your gifts and your knowledge with everyone. Yeah, so enough about me. If you would like to do just, I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but I like to begin at the beginning. So a little bit about, where you were born, your upbringing, where you're from, who you are.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me on the podcast. This is exciting and fun. Um, so I was originally born in Joburg, actually. But I spent most of my childhood growing up in Stellenbosch, and that is also where I attended varsity. And yeah, I really had I had a mostly happy childhood, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Um, I studied psychology, well, actually, child psychology and social work. And then initially, when I started doing my practicals, it was quite difficult for me because I was crying with the kids
Mm.
and it was quite emotional. And I realized that's not necessarily a work that I'd be able to do at that stage of my life. So then I completed my studies when I was older, um, in in psychology and social work. Um, and yeah, so that's basically on the beginning of the of the journey, the origin story.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I must say, I think that's quite a task. When I think of, the social workers in the world and the nurses and so on working with kids, it's like that Mother Teresa energy that someone has to really be able to like hold and be
Yeah,
steadfast. Um,
yeah.
which I feel like you embody so much of that at this point in your life. But yeah, so a little bit about how Lisa and I met. I was introduced to her through a very good friend of mine, Priya, who's actually also done an episode on here previously, Priya Vasan. And the reason being was at that point, I was eventually, after about 10 years, considering coming off my psychiatric medication and wanted to do it in a safe and supported way, with someone who knows what they're talking about. And so Lisa came along my path, and she has taken me down many paths since then. But what I find super interesting about what Lisa has as knowledge is that when I came to her, she understands, or you understand, how pharmaceuticals work.
Mm,
And that is such a big thing. So I think often when people go off onto the more natural options, the people that they work with only understand the natural options or have a much greater understanding of that, whereas you've got two, which to me is like a dream combination. So I also know that you've gone through your own health journey. So I don't know how those two coincide, your time while working in pharmaceuticals and your own health journey. Maybe just going into a little bit about what that was like.
because I love this universe, and one can't see the patterns of why things are happening usually until later, and you've got a greater and a higher perspective on that. So it's like the universe set me on this rabbit hole, down this rabbit hole of synchronicities that led to me being where I'm now. And I got to the point where I'm grateful. I'm extremely grateful for every experience I've had, every traumatic event. Inside the event itself, it's really difficult to find the gratefulness. Inside the event, it is really, really difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, but if you zoom out and you zoom out in time, then eventually you do see the why. Because if it wasn't for that journey, I would not have been able to do what I do now, to be the person that I'm now and to help people. Because I think a lot of what I do for people is I give them hope and I hold the frequency of hope for them, where there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Because when you're in the deepest, darkest pit, you can't imagine that. And I can sit here as a testament to people. So during my journey, I was, the old pattern, unhappy marriage and stuff, and collapsing, which is also something from a soul level that I chose to learn. And I was working in the pharmaceutical industry. I was working as a pharmaceutical rep and also advising doctors on pharmaceutical specifically. How does it work in the body? One thing that they learn that in medical school, they do to a certain degree, not a lot. They actually learn it from the companies themselves. This is the new molecule because it comes out mostly after they've studied, and there's not a lot of intensity on that in their curriculum itself. So you would go with them on how, this is a molecule, this is how it gets metabolized, this is where it binds, this is how you put somebody on it, this is how you take somebody off it, and these are the side effects, and these are all of that. So I did that for many years. And during that time, I faced my own health crises, my own emotional crises, my own very, very deep, dark night of the soul, where I was at a stage, basically sleeping 18 hours a day. I was dysfunctional. I could not function. I had 4 autoimmune diseases. I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had psoriatic arthritis, I had psoriasis, and I had celiac disease. I also developed a neuropathic bladder. And what that is basically the signal that must come from the brain to the bladder to tell the bladder when the bladder is full. You can feel it's full. It's uncomfortable. And then the brain needs to tell the bladder, okay, now I'm on the toilet. Now you need to contract bladder, open sphincter. The problem is if the communication is not coming through, then that creates a problem, which is quite interesting about this specific thing of mine, just going off on a tangent on that one, is that I healed that a couple of years ago. Eventually what they did is they gave me it's like a pacemaker implant almost. It's like a pacemaker for your bladder, where there's a little machine sending an electrical pulse with wires going into your spine, which is always fun. But they could not on an MRI or anywhere see any nerve damage, but still they can measure that the signal is not coming through. So I actually healed that, where I saw the trauma that was locked up. What happened is trauma was quite severe, and my brain locked the trauma out. I could not access it. I couldn't even remember it. But with that locking out, what happened is the nerve locked. So as soon as I actually faced and released that trauma, which was quite significant for me, everything started working again. I'm having the machine removed after many years now because I did not want to go for anesthesia, but wires in my spine needs to come out. I also had old back injuries and nerve damage and car crash injuries, which basically at a stage I was on fentanyl patches. So fentanyl is a very, very, very strong painkiller. It's actually the crisis in America is fentanyl based. I was on slow release patches, so it's not abusive form, but it gives you an idea of the intensity of the pain that I was in. I used to go for what they call a rhizotomy, where they actually put a needle to your nerve and they burn your nerve every couple of months, every 6 to 12 to 18 months. because I was in that amount of pain. My whole nervous system crashed. Um, I was severely depressed and panic attacks and everything that goes with that. So I was really, really in a very, very, very bad place. So when I tell people I understand the darkness, I really do. Since then, I've healed all of those autoimmune diseases. They're not bothering me anymore. I'm having the device removed out of my spine. My spine actually pulled straight quite a bit. I'm scuba diving and I jump trampolines with my kids. I haven't taken chemical medicine in many, many years. Um, so that was everything that led up to my awakening. And what I actually did is I was on heaps full of pills and pharmaceuticals. And at that stage, I also really still believed in the value of that and not actually looking at the causes, treating the symptoms. And it just got to a point where I said to the doctors, I can't anymore. Either you take me off or I take myself off. And they actually took me off in hospital, because certain medicines, if you cold turkey yourself on it, you can actually get epileptic fits, you can cause brain damage, and it's really dangerous. Um, and then as soon as my head started clearing, synchronistically, my mom booked me for a mindfulness workshop. And this lady showed me stuff about my marriage I couldn't see before. She showed me stuff about myself I couldn't see before. And she actually catapulted me onto this journey of natural healing and holistic healing. And she recommended a product for me called Elevate. Elevate is a product that has one of the many alkaloids found in Sceletium. Um, at that stage, I didn't know the name of Sceletium just yet.
Now it's a dear friend.
And yet, Sceletium came to me. And Sceletium is one of my best friends. Sceletium is an amazing, beautiful medicine. The universe also orchestrated it that I went through all of this on my own, without really any guidance or teachers, without any friends or support at that stage in Uppington, in a small little town in the middle of nowhere, busy divorcing. It was so much fun. But that also really gave me the opportunity to go within to study further, to learn about the plant medicines. And really, I see them as friends. They carry a beautiful, beautiful energy. Each one is completely different. And my background in pharmaceuticals actually gave me the understanding of the biological level of it. This binds here, this binds here, this binds here, and also gave me the ability to then actually go trace the plant medicines up to the clinical studies and understand what they're saying in the clinical study. Because it's usually you find it. If I go from the Sakman on the corner and he gives me this taki and he tells me this taki is for this, and then I eventually get from the taki to the bosi, and then I get the biological name for this plant, and then I go trace the studies. Always, without a doubt, what he told me in the beginning, there's a study that backs it up. It's not well known, the studies. There's a lot of information we don't know, and just believe me when I tell you, your doctor does also not know that. Unless somebody came to him and made him specifically aware of that, he most probably doesn't know about it. And it's not ignorance, it's just like he can't spend hours and hours researching stuff. How is he supposed to know about that? So I studied further in phytomedicine. So I did my postgrad in phytomedicine and natural products. As I was healing myself on a more holistic basis as well, because the plants are amazing at repairing damage we did to ourselves, in supporting us, in guiding. None of the plants that I've come across up to this point wants you to be on them forever. It is a teacher and you graduate and then you get another teacher. It's not like the pharmaceuticals that you need to be on it forever. And what also happened is my spiritual life gave me another perspective on stuff as well. So I think what you were resonating with is I kind of look at things from a multidimensional perspective. If I look at a pharmaceutical medicine, I can know what it does biological and pharmaceutically in the body, but I can also trace the energy of that and also where it binds. Even like, you see, I can go deep into this. Even if you start looking at how the neurotransmitters work and you look at it from a multidimensional level, you can actually see how the soul communicates with the body on a biochemical level, and how if you don't have this, the soul can't communicate like that, then this malfunctions and this malfunctions. Also why a lot of the pharmaceuticals, when people feel like they are being disconnected from themselves, on a metaphysical level, it basically does that to a certain degree. And there's many reasons why. And I am also not one of the people that say you must take the baby and the bath water and throw them all out. Absolutely not. There is a time and there is a place for everything that is in existence in this entire universe. For me, where the wobble really comes is with informed consent. I feel people don't understand the medicine that they're taking. They don't understand the implications, what that might carry. You would be surprised how many people doesn't even read the package insert. I was in pharmacies where I saw grandmothers stealing from their grandkids. And the only thing that poor woman did wrong is she couldn't sleep. And the doctor wrote a 6-month prescription for something that if you open up the package insert, it will tell you do not take longer than 14 days. And then that forms a whole catapult, that specific medicine, for instance, after 14 days, you bypass deep sleep. You don't sleep, you just don't remember it. It also, the way it binds to the brain can open you up to astral realms while you're sleeping, which can cause a lot of nasty stuff happening. And I feel there's a lot of misinformation in this world. I am not one, I don't even advertise my consultations. I only work on referral basis. I am not one advocating people go off your antidepressants, it's bad for you. There's a time and a place for it. There absolutely is. And then there is also a time and a place to evolve past that. And when people are at that time and place where they actually do want to get off it, and like I've got disclaimers this long. I can only provide information on the information I've got. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm registered as a doctor of natural medicines. I can advise on natural medicines. I cannot tell anybody to go off medicines. I cannot argue with your psychiatrist. I can provide information should the person decide to go off about what safe tapering regimes are. And also then, what I found is a lot of times when people do go to their doctors or psychiatrists, you won't believe how many tell them, well, if you don't want to be on it, just stop it. That can actually cause brain damage. That is an extremely uncomfortable and intolerable process for most people. And even if you taper slowly, there was a problem to begin with. Okay, so now have you faced that problem yet? Because now you disconnected yourself a little bit from the feelings and stuff, but now you're tapering off the stuff. So say you've been on medicines for 5 years. Okay, you've lost your sensitivity. So one of the first things that comes back is your sensitivity. It's like if you couldn't hear properly, you had earplugs in, or the darkness retreats that you do. And all of a sudden it's like, it's not worse than it was before. It's not louder than it was before. It's just you're not used to it. So then you don't have the coping mechanisms. You are sitting with the side effects of the medicines. You don't have anybody to hold your hands, even with the help of a psychologist and stuff. It is tough because there was something that went wrong in the beginning that's not addressed. These medicines were doing modulation for your neurotransmitters. Now all of a sudden you're taking that away. So what is replacing that? And there are ways to do it without taking anything else. It is much more difficult. So what I try to do, and it's a very individual basis. For me, I read into every single person individually. I look into them as a whole person holistically. Also, I'm not an expert on diet and supplementation. Where I am, I recommend, but when I see that there's different things that they actually need, a lot of times with psychological diseases, gut is an issue. So I would refer to people that actually specialize in that, people that I work with myself and that I trust. If I feel there's a therapy needed or this needed, I'll refer to that. And then what I try to do is support while you're going off, you're adding. So you're doing this. But now the difference is you're adding, firstly, a plant teacher. And whether people are aware of it or not, that teacher isn't communicating with you. They might think it's their own thoughts. I love it when they come to me and they're like, oh, you won't believe this. I saw this and I did this and oh, I just discovered this. And ooh, now I'm like, okay, the plant is standing there behind you going like, they don't need the recognition, don't worry. It's not you. It's not you. Okay, it is you on eye level, but it is also the plant spirit communicating with you. So whether somebody does it consciously or not consciously, it's irrelevant in the bigger picture. I've got people using what some consider sacred medicine and should only be used in ceremony. I've got private bankers, people in the corporate world using it. And you know what? It is absolutely beautiful. Because on a physical level, they heal beyond the point where they have been able to heal in years of chemicals. Okay, so firstly, what it does is it shifts the perspective. Maybe these people in the Amazon are not that crazy. Maybe, just maybe, they know something we don't. That is one shift. The other thing is you're shifting the whole energy. All of a sudden, they're more in their hearts, they're more grounded, they're more clear, they're more aligned, and they function from that point of view, and they've got a guiding spirit. And that is irrelevant if they use it as sacredness. Yes, there's different levels to all the medicines, and the way that you use it, you can access deeper and higher levels. But for me, when I started my healing journey and I discovered all of these beautiful plants and amazing modalities and just like so many things. This one dream root, for instance, that the Bushmen use. So I was isolated in Uppington where I made friends with Pete, one of my favorite friends in the
I was
world.
going to ask you to tell us a little bit about Pete.
Okay, so I'll get there. But oh, I love Pete. He's one of my favorite people in this entire universe. He's not one of these bushmen that you'll get here running around in Cape Town. That's more more I want to be a bushman Rasta. There was nothing wrong with that at all, and it's beautiful. Or even the Bushmen you'll see when you go out to visit the places. Pete carries unity consciousness. Pete did not see a city until the age of 11, I think. Pete is in constant communication with spirit. He carries that childlike innocence and beauty. His presence carries. When Pete is one of those people, you can go sit at the back of the room, nobody knows he's there. The energy of the entire place shifts. He really carries that. But what I was saying is when I started tracing back to the clinical studies, these roots and these stuff that I learned about and that I experienced myself and that I was working with, my mind was blown on what we actually have available in this world that people don't know about. This one dream root, for instance, is a very powerful teacher. It is. It's a white dream root that they use. And this, when I went to go trace it back, is one of the first things that made a clinical significance in Alzheimer's. Most of the dream roots work on brain. Most of the dream medicines does repair the brain. This one specifically is incredible. I have people with Alzheimer's stepping back into more lucidness. I've got people with dementia. I had people with stroke, brain trauma, that this medicine has really helped them incredible. And the problem is nobody knows about it. So for me, my whole intent with what I'm doing is I felt like I wanted to go and stand on the rooftops and shout, guys, this is available. And for me, all I want to do is I want to create a choice point where there wasn't a choice point before. Um, because in this world, we get told this is wrong with you, you've got chocolate or vanilla. And
Mm,
great, you might like chocolate. It might be your favorite. Vanilla might also be your favorite. It might be exactly what you need. But just at least know that there's like salted caramel and there's mint. And I don't know why people want rum and raisin, but just know that it's available if you do want it. Nee, it's all of these flavors are available. And then also know why, like the
mhm,
education around it and like the informed decision around that. And then what I get to do with my medicines is I get to give you a friend to walk with you
mhm,
because many, many people are walking this path alone. And whether it is on a subconscious level, if they know it or not, they've got a friend and a teacher holding their hand on this path that they didn't have before because there's not enough of us in the world to hold everybody's hand. And what I can teach um, can't even compare to the wisdom of nature. And also, just on that point, I think it's important to make this clear. Plants are also in the 3D universe. This is a universe of duality.
mhm,
Plants are not just good. You get good humans and you get bad humans. Okay. Plants have both sides.
mhm,
Your consciousness, your intent, the way that you do it, many factors can play in if you're getting the higher vibrations or the lower vibrations. I do get a lot of people that thinks plants have all the answers. They don't. Um, and they are tricksters and they will tell you nonsense also, depending on the plant, how big that polarity is. But I do want to make this point clear. Um,
mhm,
Plants are not the answer to everything. A lot of times, the answer is not medicines. It's not something from the outside. Sometimes it is. And yeah, like I said, I would really, I think it's important for people to know it's a
mhm,
universe of duality. They don't just channel nice information. Sometimes there's some other stuff, and discernment is a great lesson to have.
mm. That's actually super interesting. I'm not sure I've really heard it put in those words before.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. I was thinking now, what I really picked up on when you were speaking about how you would explain what the new products are, the new pharmaceutical that you're sharing with the doctor, but you called it molecules.
Mm?
So you were saying, you're not just slapping the label pill on it and being like, cool, this is the pill, and you don't need to think about it. Like, it's just a pill, you put it in, it does things. But actually going into and naming it, these are the molecules that you're putting in your body. There's actual, things happening in here that you're putting, and there's going to be reactions and there's going to be things that bind. And I think that sometimes I feel like the body intimidates me as much as like the greatness of the universe, because I'm always like, I don't even, like, I know where the three sisters sit in the sky, and that's like my astrological knowledge of the sky, because
Yeah.
there's just so much information, there's so much to
Yeah.
know. And our bodies are the same way. There's so much to know. But it's interesting because if you take a zoom out, and I do this a lot when I teach, because I do a lot of lymphatic drainage work. And when I ask the question, who in the room knows what their lymphatic system is and what it does, there's maybe like one person
Yeah.
that has heard of it, because they've like has
Mm.
someone who's had lymphoma, or something like that. But
Mm.
it's not information and education that's put out there. And it's almost like, if we're not even able to understand our own bodies or have any knowledge at all of them, then why would I care what I'm putting into it?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very interesting to me when you like that's such like, I'm going to use it as such a beautiful change of perspective. Because I think it is the way in which I think about it, but it's such a nice way to talk about it. Is the same as food. It's like you're eating food, but you're eating molecules. Like you're eating for your cells. You're not necessarily eating for your taste buds or for your stomach,
Yeah.
but you're actually eating for your cells. So thank you for that. That's really, really beautiful. And I'm going to use that a lot moving forward. I'll quote you on it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I picked up was when you were mentioning that it can be quite an intense and tricky process when you come off the medication, because you've been holding yourself in one-ish place for such a long time. And then when you start to take that away, it's almost like there is this this shift and this change and this intensity that comes with it. And for me, that was anger.
Oh, yeah?
When I came off my medication, I felt like everything I'd been angry with my whole life, that I'd never brought up, that I'd never spoken up about, that I'd suppressed, all of that came up. It was almost like I felt like the medication had held the anger hostage, like in my body.
Yeah.
And that was quite hectic, because then I came off, and obviously it was a gradual process, but I didn't go to being like, oh, cool, like I'm the most stable person in the world. Like I'll fucking never be the most stable person in the world. But for me, it was like, I'm feeling all this anger, and the initial response being, oh, maybe you did the wrong thing. Like perhaps you should go back on the medication. Maybe this is too much for you. Maybe you can't handle it. And me going, but wait, can I just sit with this? Can I allow myself just to be angry and to feel angry, and not try and go into narratives, but just like allow myself? And so it felt like a few months that I was just so angry at so many things. And so, yeah, to anyone who is on that journey, always considering that journey, it's such a process, and it really needs to be taken like step by step, and making sure that you are supported, like making sure that you have informed people around you that this is what you're doing. Like for me, I had mentioned it to a lot of people when I went through the actual process of going off it. I did it on my own with you and with a select few people who knew what I was doing and what my intention was. Because I knew there were going to be people who would, out of concern or out of love or out of fear, would have tried to convince me to not do it. And I didn't want those voices.
Yes.
So in other words, I really wanted to trust myself and my intuition, because I have let myself down a couple times in the past, and building that trust back with myself has been like quite a journey. So trusting that, like, I was like, this is the right time to do this. And obviously, like, just coming out of my first Vipassana, I was just like so aligned and so
Brave
ready
soul
for
you
it.
are.
Yeah, I will go back to Vipassana today. If you tell me there's a spot and someone will look after my dogs, I'm gonna pack my car and go. It's amazing. So yeah, it is a very interesting journey, and I'm actually going to use this as a bit of a segue. One of the friends that you suggested for me was Sceletium. And I think a lot of people know about Sceletium, but they don't actually know much about it. So I'd love for you just to share a little bit more about Sceletium, like what it is, how it supports, why you've got such a strong relationship with it.
Okay, so Sceletium is one of the plants that help me pull out of the deepest, darkest places. I've been, without having the consciousness at that stage to know exactly what and how things were happening. So without going into too much of the pharmaceuticals, Sceletium is an amazing plant. It is one of the Bushman's sacred plants. Not a lot of people know that. They also call it kaugoed or Bushman's ecstasy. So they didn't have depression and stuff we have. They don't. They're just happy all the time. It's like every day is their birthday. And but they used it when walking fur distances and hunting, and it really brought in that motivation and that drive and ability to actually go further. That's why they call it koughoed. They kow it. Sceletium is better in a fermented form, and they used to ferment it as well. The fermentation process activates alkaloids that is otherwise not activated. They are busy still studying Sceletium and finding more alkaloids and reasons why it works. It does have a strong SSRI function, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So that's your antidepressants, your Prozac. That's one of the things that Sceletium does. And that is why they do the extract, the mesobrim extract, which they're isolating that action. But this plant is a complete plant. So actually, when you isolate that action, you get some side effects. That's not great. So you want to use the plant as a completed, as a fermented form. Then it also works on dopamine. Dopamine for me is spiritual currency, basically. Dopamine is one of the neuroreceptors that your soul used to communicate with you. Without dopamine, meditation, not possible. Dopamine is, people think it's the pleasure hormone. It's not, it's focus. It's motivation. It's that energy that they needed when walking fur distances as well. And Sceletium works on the whole cannabinoid system. And so the cannabinoid system doesn't exist because cannabis exists. We've got an endocannabinoid system. And the thing with the cannabinoid system is it's basically a messaging back and forth system. Carrying the message saying, need more of this, okay, no, more of this, okay, this, activating and pushing on, maybe saying, oh, release more dopamine, release more of this. That's why cannabis in every type of form, in every type of single person has got a different effect, because it acts upon your own cannabinoid system in a different way than it would to person B, person C. But Sceletium's acting on the cannabinoid system is really a bringing into balance. Sceletium also has an anti-inflammatory action on the gut. So when you're looking at, just a quick segue into what a SSRI is for people.
Yes, please.
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Okay. So they're talking about inhibiting the reuptake of serotonin. So actually on your neurons, there's a reuptake pump. So what happens is that your body's really good at recycling. That which doesn't get used gets reuptaken. For that signal of serotonin or dopamine or happiness to carry through, the best way I explain it is there needs to be a conductive fluid to do that. The more of the conductive fluid you have, the stronger the signal conducts. Why? When people take MDMA and there's a lot of serotonin and a lot of dopamine available, that signal conducts very strongly. Where when you don't have enough, then that signal of happiness, peace, calm, motivation, focus, whatever it is basically not conducting properly. So the reasoning behind the SSRIs is if you don't reuptake, then there's more available. Okay, but now they work on the premises. Also know that recently the whole SSRI thing has been thrown up completely in the air. There was an umbrella study done. So what an umbrella study does is umbrella study takes all the studies that has been done and says, is there a pattern? Is there actually, does an SSRI, does high serotonin and low serotonin relate to depression and anxiety? And what they found is no. Okay. You cannot link low serotonin to depression. Okay.
Wow.
Also, okay, there's a bigger perspective on that because it actually has to do with the balancing of it. And they are now linking to that. The SSRIs do work in some cases, but in generality, they could not find any clinical significant link between low serotonin and depression. That doesn't mean there's no link between serotonin and depression. Things you must look at a different way of looking at it. With cholesterol, you can have extremely high cholesterol and be extremely healthy and live very long if your balance is right. And with the neurotransmitters, the body is so complicated. Like you said, it's like an exploration journey. I love it. I learn something new every day. And it's fascinating, but it's very complicated, and it's usually all about balance. So now the problem with the SSRIs lies in the fact that you go on the presumption that this person has enough serotonin for that, it works on serotonin to begin with. Okay, most of your serotonin gets produced in your gut. Okay, so say now I'm taking like figurative numbers and stuff just to make the point. So say you specifically need 100 units of serotonin to conduct the happiness signal. Okay, so now your gut is making 150 units. There's an enzyme in the gut that takes some of the units and now it goes up to the brain, and you've got like 120 units left, and the reuptake inhibitor takes 20, reuptake 20 because you're not inhibiting it, and you've got 100 and everybody's happy. Okay, now you sit with a holistic problem in your body. You are literally not producing enough serotonin. Okay, so now you produce 30 units. Okay, now your gut takes another 10. So now you've got 20 units traveling up to the brain. Okay, now you're taking a reuptake inhibitor. Okay, so now you still have 20 and you don't only have 10, which is great. It's better, but there's a problem because it's not really going to do what you need it to do. So you really need to look at why is your body not producing the serotonin. Is serotonin the problem? Because a lot of depression, serotonin is not even the problem. It's dopamine. Or other factors that people cannot even look at or even consider in their possibilities. You can have panema, you can have spiritual disease. It could be energy related. Energy related does play into the body because as within, so without. So even if it is energy related, it works in a basis by inhibiting your dopamine or your serotonin or the this or the that, or the endocrine system or the hormones or whatever it is. It will play out on the physical as well, or it can become a physical problem for different reasons. Now, what's great about Sceletium is also anti-inflammatory on the gut. So Sceletium starts by working on the system as a whole. There's two stories I like to tell about Sceletium. The first is what Sceletium does for you. Sceletium as a plant spirit gives you the observer perspective on your emotions. She gives you the ability to be able to step out of your emotional field without taking the emotions away. They're still there. I had a friend say to me once, she took Sceletium at a funeral. She said it's the first time she's got the option to talk and not cry while she's talking. She's still as sad. The sadness is still there. It's not less sad. She still feels it. It's just that ability to actually step back and look at it. So I say, when you over here and you're busy drowning, is the fire, and you're spoiling, you can't breathe, and I'm busy drowning, is a fire, is a boat on fire, chaos. Okay. So what Sceletium does is Sceletium picks you up. And from that perspective, you can see, oh man, it's kids crying on a sailboat. It's fine. It's nothing to worry about. But you know, when you're drowning in your emotional field, everything's a flippant crisis. So it gives you that ability to actually look at it, but it does not take the water away. When SSRI on a more chemical basis has the potential to take away from the water. Okay, so now you're not drowning anymore. There's no more boat. There's no more fire. It's great. Okay, but are you going to come back here? Because when you come back, there's still going to be a boat and a fire and a water. So Sceletium actually works on the basis of first healing the physical body as well, while healing the physical body, giving you the observer perspective on your emotions, and then also bringing in the frequency of happiness, of that joy, of that connection into your field in order for your field to experience it, so your field can attune to it. So if you
Lisa,
try and
I'm gonna just sorry, I'm gonna pause you for one moment quickly because my copper that I ordered from you has just arrived at the front door.
Yay.
So give me just 2 seconds. I just quickly want to make sure I grab it before the courier leaves. I will be back in 1 moment. I'm actually gonna give us a little bit of a pause.
Wait.
Okay, and we're back. That's so exciting. I've got my Nature's Pharmacopoeia bag here, and this is actually so awesome that this arrived at this time again. I don't believe in coincidences. Let's have a little look. Yeah. Woo. Everyone, that is where it's
Copper.
at. Copper. Okay, but I want to come back to, sorry, you were busy with lithium.
So busy with Sceletium. I was talking about how, try and explain to a person, how do you ride a bike?
Mm.
Okay, so you put your hands here, you take your one foot, you do this, you do that, you can't. Until you have the feeling, you can't. It's a feeling thing. So same as that, a person that has never experienced happiness or joy or something like that, how do you expect them to experience it? So what Sceletium has the ability to do is to bring that feeling, the experience in order to teach your body and align to that experience, because now you've experienced it and you can always access it after that. So once again, Sceletium does not want you to be on Sceletium forever, although sometimes, especially with these types of things, it takes quite a while for the body to heal. So the best way I relate is, we're coming back to Pete again. He's one of my favorite people. I tell people, okay, so now I'm going to drop you in the middle of the Kalahari. Are you going to survive? And the answer is just no. You're not. You're really not. Even if you think you are, you're not. Okay, where do you get water? Where do you get shelter? Where do you get food? It's going to be really difficult. The next option is, I take you, I put you on a weekend course, I show you some videos, and I drop you on your own again. Okay, so you've got some courses, you've got some energy meditations and stuff. And will you survive? Maybe, maybe. It's going to be incredibly traumatic and tough, but you might make it. Or the other option is, I take Pete and I put him with you. So the first night, he makes a fire for you. Okay, he goes and gets the food for you. Okay, then he starts showing you, okay, now this is how you make fire, and you struggle, and I can't get it, and then eventually you get it right. This is how you hand, this is how you make a shelter, and then eventually you come to a point where Pete can leave you, and you can even teach others. And the plants are like that. Sometimes it takes quite a while where they have to do it for you, and that's also okay. But eventually you teach and you come to the point where you can actually access that energy yourself and attune your own field to yourself. And that's also what we were talking about earlier, what I wanted to mention. For me, I recommend that people, especially with plant teachers, take the medicine and say, I give you permission to heal me. And this is what I'm asking for. And to take it consciously. But you can do that even with minerals and supplements and everything, because you are a universe unto yourself. You can actually manufacture and do all of this ourselves. This body is capable of miracles that we can't even comprehend of. It's an incredible piece of technology, actually. Biotechnology. So even when you take your mineral or your supplement, to do it consciously and say, let my field learn from the frequency of this. Let it teach me. And in that way, when you take it consciously, it actually becomes more bioavailable, which they've actually found in studies. And your body actually starts making what it needs to make, provided that you are giving it the right resources, which in this world is a bit tough. That's why the copper supplement. Yeah, so that's Sceletium in a nutshell. One of my favorite plants.
Well, I think we'll have to like either start a new podcast, or we're going to have to just do like an episode per plant. Like there's so much to talk about. There's so much to share.
Oh my word, and it is so beautiful. Your journey that you were talking about anger. So I work with Blue Lotus as well. So Blue Lotus actually works on dopamine, not on serotonin, on dopamine. And Blue Lotus actually works by repairing your own dopaminic system. Also, why it's in the Egypt pyramids, dopamine has got a lot with your connection to spirit, also motivation, focus, all of that. In general, if you look at it on paper, this chemical, this molecule, this alkaloid will increase dopamine, which will bring in peace, it will bring in tranquility, it will bring in focus, it will bring in motivation. I had one client that took Lotus and got so angry for 2 days. Okay, so there's no reason on paper why that should happen. That is a plant spirit at work. And this lady wanted to kill people. And she was shouting, and it was incredible. And then after 2 days, she collapsed in tears because she saw beneath the anger was a sadness. And Lotus decided to show her that in that form. It's never happened before and it's never happened since that I got anybody getting angry on Lotus. But with these plants, if you do give them permission, they will heal you in the way that they think is necessary for you. And I also believe we never get dealt anything that we do not have all the tools to deal with. Like you were saying in your journey, there's like, must I go back on? And the thing is, I really truly believe with my whole entire heart that the universe and God will provide you with what you need in order to complete the journey that you're on. And it's a lot of times us not using the tools we've got, not calling on the resources we've got. But it is always there. And I really, truly believe we are supported in our journeys.
No, and I feel like plants will find you when you're ready. And so for me, I've never necessarily gone out and seeked, like, oh, I'm gonna go. I've heard like ayahuasca journeys are where it's at, like I'm gonna go like meet ayahuasca, like head on kind of thing. Like, and what was interesting was when we had our initial consultations to support me coming off my pharmaceutical medication, Sceletium was one of the plants that you suggested, and then you also mentioned iboga to me at that stage. And what's interesting is I know you told me a lot about it at the time, but I retained none of that information. Like it's almost like iboga just disappeared straight out of my brain. And
sounds about
now
right.
a year later, it's literally come to me in the most beautiful way. It's literally like, hi, I'm here, like you're ready. And it's like, it's so beautiful. And it's been the same with me with more subtle things like chamomile tea that has just like come into my life and been like, that's something that I like try to drink daily now. Not try to drink daily, something that I enjoy to experience daily. So it's beautiful how the plants will come and you will meet the right people and like the path will be shown, like you're saying, like everything will be provided, everything is all there. And it is just like that, as within, so without. So if you're doing the internal work, there has to be this addition of patience and kindness and compassion and willingness to see how things unfold and to know that the path that can unfold in front of you, the one that you're trying to plan, is probably not even a quarter as beautiful as the one that is there set out for you. But we're so keen to stick to our control and our plan and our attachments to like, if I do this, then I'll have this, then I'll be this. And if we can like, let that go and just be like, but the life that I'm dreaming of living, it might not look like that on the outside, but it's still my life. It's the life that I'm living. And so how do we start to, I had this conversation with a friend the other day. We went swimming down here in Davies Pool in the ocean. And we were both saying how like when we were younger or like a while back, we'd always like watch these like surfer movies or series or whatever, or you see on Instagram, you're like, oh, look at these people spending their like days on the beaches and they're in the water every day. I wish I could have that life. And then I was like, and now I've done it. And now I do have that life. I swim in the ocean every single day. I can walk down like to the ocean.
It's so amazing,
it's beautiful. But I've got two last questions for you. I know we've been going for a while. I mean, you've been on this call for a long time.
Even on what you just said,
Yeah.
I agree. And people think I know everything about all the plants. I really don't. They come to me one-on-one. What I know is because I've worked one-on-one as they come to me. And I get this, especially with the master plant teachers like Sananga. That's for me is so funny always. I get the phone call or I get the conversation with the person and they would say, because Sananga really burns a lot. It's not a fun experience. And the person would come to me and they're like, you won't believe me. I saw this. It just like, it felt like it called me and I saw it here and I saw it here and then I read more and then I found you. I'm like, I believe you. I really do believe you because the plants really do reach out and do call. And it really is what is in front of you, not going off your path. It will come when it needs to come. It will come at the right time. So I resonate absolutely with what you just said.
A quick funny story. Well, it
Yeah.
should be embarrassing, but I don't get embarrassed easy because when you've done shit, and there's nothing that you can really do about it.
Yeah.
But the first time I did Sananga, I was like expecting like this hectic like burn, and I was so nervous, and I was like bracing myself for this experience. And then it's never been that hectic to me. And I was like, the reason why is because I was at a party once. I think it was like a 3 or 4 day trance party or something.
Yeah.
And doing all the things, the doping, the dwelling, the alles. And I had put my contact lenses in on day 1. And because I was so on cloud wherever, I never took them out. And so they were in my eyes for 4 days. And by the time the 4th day finished, I was rubbing my eye and I felt something in the corner of my eye. And it was my contact lens that had folded in double and had been suctioned in behind my eyeball. And I had to like try and dig it out of my eye. And it was like such a painful experience to get my contact lens out of my eyeball, that I feel like now when I do Sananga, it's actually like I'm like, nothing can be as sore as like
my word.
What happened with that contact lens. But I've also only had beautiful experiences with Sananga. So we're just like dropping all the names of all the teachers here today. It's really amazing. As I said, 2 last little questions. So the first one would be, in which way or what things does the average person do? Like, what is the shit we do the most that fucks with our serotonin and our dopamine levels the most? Like, just like,
I've lost you. Are you back?
Sorry. Yes, sorry, we dropped out for a moment. I don't know if you heard my question.
Yeah, you were asking about what is it that we do the most that messes up.
That messes up our like, what are the things we do that messes up our dopamine and serotonin levels the most? Like average things that people do that
that is such a loaded question.
That is such a loaded question.
I can talk about this for a couple of hours, but let's just think about it logically. Diet. If you start with water, okay, the chemicals that are in our tap waters, not conducive to health, not conducive to dopamine or serotonin. The artificial colorants, the MSGs, the stuff we put into our body that actually poisons our body and then dysregulates function. The stuff we are not getting in, which unfortunately, a lot of people ask me, can I get it in with my diet? And my answer is yes, if you go live in the Amazon. Because our soils are mineral depleted. So our foods are mineral depleted. So you can eat as much as you want. It's still not going to do it. They actually did a study where they looked at, so in the 1950s or whenever, they did the saying, apple has this much vitamin C in and this much and this much, and liver has this much of this and this. They redid that and it went down like considerably, because like you say, we eat because we want to taste nice stuff, and it's not the purpose of eating, it's nutrition. So unfortunately that, and if you don't supplement right, and that's why you've got now the copper, and that's why I'm such a big advocate of this root cause protocol, because at the root cause, if you look at dopamine and serotonin, one of the things it needs, except for the some of the copper enzymes it actually needs, it needs magnesium. And your magnesium burn rate is too high, and it is going to stay too high until you get the dysregulation of the copper right. and your mineral balance is right, it's going to be doing that. So your body can like literally not produce what it needs to produce. And then you can look at stuff like exercise, like sleep, like everything like that. But I would say if a person could change one thing, to look at your diet and supplementation. And then supplements specifically regarding to, if you are looking at mental health, supplement for mental health. Supplement the building blocks your body needs in order to manufacture what it needs to do. Also, then look at where you have your caused damage and how do I heal it.
Thank you. That was like blew me out of the water. Thank you. And yeah, a question that I just asked all the guests who come onto the podcast is, what do you believe living an aligned life is, or what is it like to live in alignment?
Once again, that is a very complicated and loaded question. I think on the simplest terms, what it means for me, the journey that I'm on, is I'm on the journey of getting back to my own signature frequency. I see the world in pictures and I see the world in colors. And if every person in this world is a color, you're a unique color. You're a color that has never existed ever before. You might be a blue and I might be a blue, but we're not the same blue. And the problem is we're not running our own signature frequency. Say you are turquoise, you're not running turquoise. You're running this program and you're running this trauma and you're running this thing and this thing and this thing and the many things that is not true to you, who you are, and your own source connection. So I think I'm on a journey, and that even that, as within so without, how do you want to achieve being healthy if the body is not healthy, if the whole system cannot actually conduct your energy, which is you, and bring that into the body? I don't believe we should be out there. I believe we should be inside our bodies, being present, we being the experiencer of the experience that we're living as ourselves. And I think that is where the journey of alignment comes into, aligning not to somebody else, not to a religion, not to nothing else except for your own and your own truth, and then getting rid of everything that's not me. And that's for me still a daily journey, and it's a unfolding journey, and it will be an unfolding journey for the rest of my life, because I discover, oh, this is a program running. Oh, there's a distortion. Oh, there's a this. Yeah, in this space, I'm not being me. And just to get back to that, I think that's an alignment that's for me important. And that also is then alignment to God, or source, or whatever we want to put on as a label of the divine force that runs through all of us, and that I do believe guides and supports us. So yeah, quick nutshell on what I think.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure.
This is like, the fact that I get to do and have these conversations is just like such a blessing in my life. I said in the last episode, like I selfishly just do this for myself because I get to like talk to the most amazing people and learn so much and share so much. And I know that you're also someone who shares from your lived experience and your embodied knowledge and wisdom. So thank you for sharing that so openly with everyone. Lize has her own website and her business name is Nature's Pharmacopia. I will put all the links in the show notes below, so the Instagram, the website, etc. Lize, where is the best place to get in contact with you?
Actually, it would probably be through the website. There's a WhatsApp button, and you can contact me directly through WhatsApp through the website. And I also just want to say so much gratitude. It's a gratitude day for me. It's such a privilege, and I can feel what you're doing and how much love and appreciation and joy goes into that. I really believe when we do what makes us happy and what fills us up, that ripples out. And I can see that that's what you do. For me, also, I can talk about plants forever. I love it. Love it.
It's the best. It's the best.
So
No, it
thank you
really,
so much for having me
really
on your
is.
podcast. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for this to launch. And yeah, thank you to everyone who is either watching this on YouTube or those who are listening to this on Apple Music or on Spotify. Please make sure to rate, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things so that this platform can keep growing and ultimately, you know, reach as many people as possible. So lots of love from me to everyone, and to you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. Lots of love to you also.
All right, bye.
Bye.